In the summer of 2025, two very different relationship stories were unfolding inside the Roloff family. On one side of the country, in Arizona, Matt Roloff was quietly preparing the Instagram post that would end his 8-year engagement to Caryn Chandler. On the other side, in a quiet Portland home, Amy Roloff was getting ready to celebrate her 4th wedding anniversary with Chris Marek. Two couples, two timelines, two completely different outcomes. And if you ask the longtime fans of Little People, Big World, the contrast tells you everything you need to know about who really moved on from that 2016 divorce in a healthy way, and who is still, in some ways, figuring it out. Because here's the thing about Amy Roloff and Chris Marek. For years, fans underestimated this relationship. They underestimated Amy. They underestimated Chris. They watched a tall, quiet, somewhat reserved real estate agent walk into the life of the matriarch of the Roloff family, and they were not sure what to make of him. He was not flashy. He was not loud. He did not seek the spotlight. And in a reality television family that is built almost entirely on personality and presence, a man who did not chase attention was a strange addition to the cast. Fans wondered if he was the right fit. They wondered if Amy was settling. They wondered, in the early years, whether this would even last. Well, 4 years into the marriage, with one more year before they hit the official 5-year milestone, the answer is clear. They did not just last. They built something quiet and real and increasingly enviable. While other relationships in this family imploded, theirs got stronger. And that is the story we are telling tonight on LPBW Update. Let us go back to where it started. Amy Roloff and Chris Marek met in 2016, not long after Amy finalized her divorce from Matt. By many accounts, including Amy's own, it was a blind date arranged through mutual connections. Amy had been married for nearly 30 years to Matt. She had raised 4 children, run a farm operation, written books, given speeches, and become one of the most recognizable women in reality television. She was, at the time, in her early 50s, and she had every reason to think that the dating chapter of her life was over. Chris Marek, for his part, was a real estate agent in the Portland area. He was tall, he was quiet. He had been previously married and was a private person who had no particular interest in being on television. Their first meeting, according to Amy, was nervous and a little awkward, but something clicked. There was an ease to him. There was a kindness. And over the course of the next few months, Amy began bringing Chris into her life, and eventually onto the show. Fans got their first real look at Chris in 2017 episodes of Little People, Big World, and the reaction was mixed at first. Some viewers thought he was too reserved. Some thought he was not warm enough on camera. Some thought he did not understand the family dynamics he was walking into. But Amy was patient with him, and he was patient with the show. And slowly, over the seasons, he grew on people. He started cooking on camera. He started showing up for grandchildren's birthdays. He started being there for Amy in ways that were small but consistent. And the fans began to see what Amy had seen from the start. In September of 2019, after about 3 years of dating, Chris proposed to Amy. It was a quiet proposal in keeping with who they both are. There was no helicopter, there was no skywriting, there was no production crew filming a manufactured surprise. There was just Chris, with a ring, asking Amy if she wanted to spend the rest of her life with him. She said yes. And then they began planning a wedding that would, in some ways, become its own quiet milestone for the Roloff family. They were married on August 28, 2021, on Roloff Farms in Hillsboro, Oregon. The location itself was significant. This was the same farm that Amy had spent decades of her life on with Matt. This was the property that had hosted countless pumpkin seasons, family barbecues, and reality television film shoots. And it was on that farm, surrounded by family and friends, that Amy Roloff officially became Amy Roloff Marek. The wedding was filmed by TLC and aired as a special. And one of the most talked about details from that day was the question of whether Matt would attend. Amy was open about her conflicted feelings. She debated on camera with Chris about whether to invite Matt and Caryn. In the end, she said, it would cause less drama if they were not there. She said it was better for everyone. And Matt, for his part, said publicly that he absolutely would not be offended if he was not invited. That decision, painful as it was, ended up being a quiet sign of what Amy was prioritizing in her new life. Peace, stability, a clean slate. 4 years on, in the summer of 2025, that decision looks more and more like the right one, because look at how the two timelines have diverged. Amy and Chris bought a Portland home together in 2022. They nicknamed it their Little Haven, and over the years it has become the backdrop for Amy's cooking videos, Chris's culinary experiments, and the gentle, ordinary domestic life that the two of them have built. There are no major reality television cameras following them around the house anymore. There is no pumpkin season pressure. There is no extended family fundraiser drama. There is just the two of them, in their kitchen, in their backyard, taking trips together, enjoying meals together, and quietly building a marriage that none of the early skeptics ever predicted would last. And in August of 2025, when they hit their 4th anniversary, Amy made sure her fans knew about it. She posted a tribute on Instagram, showing the two of them enjoying dinner at a new restaurant in Oregon. She wrote that they were celebrating 4 years of marriage and that Chris still knew how to surprise her. She mentioned the flowers he had brought her. She mentioned the thoughtful card he had given her. She mentioned the way he loved her. And then she wrote one of the most touching captions she has ever shared. Chris, I loved you yesterday, love you today, and will tomorrow. Thanks for hanging with me and going on this journey together. That post melted fans across every social media platform. It went viral inside the LPBW fandom in a way that very few of Amy's posts had in years. And the comments were full of one repeated thought from longtime viewers. Amy looks happy. Amy actually looks happy. Now, this is the part where we have to address something honestly, because if you are watching this channel, you have seen the other videos out there. There has been a flood of misinformation in 2025 about Amy and Chris. Fake clickbait videos with thumbnails screaming that Amy kicked Chris out. Fake stories claiming the couple had divorced. Fake Facebook posts claiming Chris betrayed Amy with Matt of all people. Fake everything. None of it is true. None of it. Amy Roloff and Chris Marek are still happily married. They celebrated their 4th anniversary in August of 2025. Amy's Instagram bio still lists her as a wife. They are still living in their Portland home. They are still cooking together. They are still traveling together. They are still, by every visible and verifiable measure, in love. The divorce rumors are hoaxes generated by content farms trying to milk views from the Roloff name. And that is why this channel, LPBW Update, refuses to play that game, because the truth is more interesting than the lie. The truth is that Amy Roloff, after a long marriage that ended in divorce, after years of being defined by her relationship to Matt, after raising 4 children largely on her own emotional labor, has built a quiet and real second marriage that is, in every way that matters, working. And that story is more compelling than any made-up divorce drama could ever be. So let us talk about why it works. Why is the Amy and Chris marriage thriving while the Matt and Caryn engagement collapsed? There are probably 100 reasons, but a few stand out. The first is that Amy and Chris built their relationship outside the orbit of Roloff Farms. They lived in Portland. They built a home that was theirs. They built habits and routines that were not entangled with the farm operations or the family business. Whereas Matt and Caryn always lived inside the Roloff machine. Caryn had worked on the farm for years before they ever dated. Their entire relationship was, in some way, always going to be entangled with Roloff Farms, Roloff family dynamics, and Roloff family conflicts. Amy and Chris had a clean break. Their relationship was new, their home was new, their life was new, and that made it easier to grow without the weight of the past pulling at every decision. The second reason is the personalities themselves. Chris Marek is quiet, steady, low drama. He is not a reality television personality. He never sought to be the center of attention. He shows up for Amy when it matters and stays out of the spotlight the rest of the time. That is a rare quality in any spouse, And it is a particularly rare quality in someone who married into one of the most filmed families in America. Chris seems to understand that his job is to be Amy's husband, not Amy's co-star. And that humility has served the marriage well. Caryn Chandler, by contrast, was more visible on the show. She was at family events, she had her own arcs, she was part of business decisions, and while that visibility was not necessarily a bad thing on its own, it placed her at the center of family conflicts in a way that someone in Chris's quieter position would never have been. The third reason, and maybe the most important one, is that Amy and Chris do not seem to be trying to prove anything. There is no public competition for attention. There is no need to keep showing the world how in love they are. There is no flood of posed photos or staged romantic moments, just the occasional anniversary post, the occasional cooking video, the occasional travel update, and it feels real because it is not constant. It feels real because it does not need to be performed. Matt and Caryn, in their final years together, seemed to be performing for the cameras in a way that did not always match the reality on the ground. Amy and Chris do not perform, they just live. And in 2025, that distinction has come into sharp focus. There is one more layer to this, and it is worth talking about. Amy Roloff has been on a journey for years now of becoming her own person. She has built her business, Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen. She has written books, she has spoken at events, she has raised money for the Amy Roloff Charity Foundation. She has done all of this while also being a mother of 4 and a grandmother to a growing number of grandchildren. And in that journey, she has become someone who knows who she is. She knows what she wants. She is not interested in fighting for anyone's attention. She is not interested in proving anything to her ex-husband. She is not interested in winning a public relations war. She is interested in living her life, on her terms, with the man she chose. And that confidence, that groundedness, is what has made her one of the most quietly admired women in reality television in 2025. The fans have noticed it. They have noticed her peace. They have noticed her smile in the anniversary photos. They have noticed Chris standing next to her, calm and supportive, holding her hand. And many of them have started to say something out loud that they had been thinking for a long time. Amy won the divorce, not in any malicious sense, not in any way that requires Matt to lose for Amy to gain, just in the sense that Amy, in the years since 2016, has built a life that looks healthier, happier, and more sustainable than the one she had before. Whether or not Matt has done the same is a separate question, and it is a question we explored in our last video about the end of the Caryn Chandler engagement. What does the future look like for Amy and Chris? By all signs, it looks like more of the same. More cooking, more Portland evenings, more small adventures together. They do not have children of their own, and they do not seem to be planning to. Amy is in her early 60s. Chris is a few years younger. They are in the chapter of life where children are grown and grandchildren are growing, and the focus is on enjoying the time they have together. There are no signs of cracks. There are no signs of tension. There are just signs of a couple who, after some early skepticism from fans, have settled into a marriage that fits them both. And as Little People Big World officially comes to an end after 25 seasons, Amy and Chris are well positioned to be one of the franchise's quiet success stories. The marriage will outlast the show. The home will outlast the show. The peace they have built together will outlast the show. And that, in its own way, is what the original Little People Big World was supposed to be about all along. People building lives. People raising families, people finding their way. Amy Roloff has found her way. Chris Marek is walking beside her. And 4 years in, with no real cracks anywhere on the surface, the marriage that nobody saw coming has become the marriage that nobody can ignore. So let me ask you what I always ask. Do you think Amy Roloff won the post-divorce chapter? Do you think Chris Marek is the right partner for her? Do you think the contrast between Amy and Chris's marriage and Matt and Caryn's collapsed engagement is fair? Or do you think Matt deserves more credit than he gets? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to read every one of them. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to LPBW Update. We are bringing you honest, fact-checked, no clickbait coverage of the Roloff family every single week, and we depend on viewers like you to keep growing. The Roloff story is not over. The show may be done, but the family is still here, still living their lives, still giving us things to follow. And we will be here, telling you the truth about it, one update at a time. I will see you on the next one.